Welcome to the Nutritious and Delicious podcast with me, Bethany. Our mission is to support you as a busy parent with your nutrition and well-being. After all, at Nutritious and Delicious, we believe a healthy family starts with a healthy parent. So I'm super excited. I have Christa here with me today. Christa is actually a personal trainer and fitness instructor, and she has had experience for over 18 years and is actually specializing around injuries. She teaches many kinds of classes such as boxing, spin, boot camp, and yoga. She is the owner of Excel Fitness in Canmore, Alberta, and has an online studio where she can train anyone, anywhere. She has a realistic approach to fitness for any level, bringing awareness to each and every client about the importance of regular strength training. Christa has a strong passion for staying strong and healthy to live her best life, and she wants to share that passion with each and every one of her clients. So welcome, Christa.
Thank you, Bethany.
Yeah, so I'm excited because today our topic is one that we both deal with on a regular basis, and this is called breaking through emotional habits for lasting transformation for people. So actually, this is something I want to go into with you because as a personal trainer, this is something you probably see a lot in your industry. So kind of give us a little bit of background first and tell us how you got started in this space.
So, with my background, I was a dancer, I was a soccer player, and I always was intrigued with strength training. So, I was in Calgary for school, and it brought me out to Canmore due to the mountains and just my outdoor activities. I ended up working at a gym facility and then realized that there is a need for more of a personalized atmosphere. So more of a studio, more of a not necessarily a gym vibe. So a studio where someone could have the space all to themselves when they're being personal trained. It's not that gym atmosphere where there's a lot of people around. So I found there's a lot of intimidation with gym atmosphere. So I knew that my passion was to help more of these people that were not sure if the gym was for them. So my mind went right to a studio, and here I am. I've been doing it in a studio for 15 years and then 3 years before that at a gym. And I find that there's way more success in this studio atmosphere with my clients than in the gym atmosphere.
That's amazing. What have you noticed over the last few years, especially going through the pandemic and everything with people? What have you noticed in the industry in terms of sort of people with their emotional habits?
So it was really hard on everybody. And I'm actually to this day still seeing people just coming back after 3 years and haven't done anything. So
Wow.
it basically took them from I've seen a lot of my clients, and then I haven't seen some of them for 3 years. Some have come back, some have done other things, but some are still, like to this day, just coming back after that 3 years. So I am asking the questions like, what were you doing, or what happened? And a lot of them are just going, you know what, I was just too stressed. And I mean, all the reasons why we need to work out are the reasons that they're giving me.
Right. So again, I know, especially being in Canada and stuff, it's harder to work out outside, but I know for yourself, like you love the mountains just as much as I do, and getting out and doing those kind of things like hiking and dog walking and things like that. It's trying to get people to kind of get out and do things no matter what, even if they kind of have those barriers, right? And I think that's what we're really talking about today is breaking through those barriers, because I think a lot of people for that lasting transformation is you need kind of a unique mindset, a unique way of looking at things, like an attitude, whether it's in nutrition, whether it's in physical fitness. And I find a lot of people, it's an easy thing to sort of drop. And something I noticed definitely on the nutrition front, especially during those years of the pandemic, a lot of people were eating very unhealthy. And I think it was, like you said, stress induced. So I noticed there was a big influx of people not moving, not going and sort of doing something different, maybe stepping outside and thinking that they could figure something else out. And then the eating obviously changed to sort of more cravings, emotional eating at nighttime. So what have you noticed yourself or some emotional habits that are coming up often with clients, or maybe even sort of emotional tapes that you're hearing on a regular basis?
So this is a perfect example of how lack of nutrition and lack of movement is damaging. So when they come in after a break, and it may be me reaching out to them first, or
Right.
there's not a lot of people that are just coming in because they're ready. That motivation, or even that momentum was stopped, and
Hmm.
then now they're on that downward, I don't want to say downward spiral, but there's no
It's like they're in a funk kind of
they're in
thing.
the funk. So how are we breaking out of that funk? A lot of times I'm reaching out one-on-one, just seeing how they're doing, and it's taking a little bit of extra work for me. It feels like I'm starting from the ground up.
Right.
But a lot of people that I'm reaching out to are just saying, like, I just don't have the energy, or I lost it. I was just too stressed. But hand in hand, nutrition, poor nutrition with the lack of movement isn't going to give us energy. So at the end of the day, they've lost their why. They've lost
Right.
their why as why I want to be fit and healthy anymore. Like, they lost their why. So I am trying to get people to tell me what, like, make up their, like, reconfirm what their why is.
Right.
Why did we start in the first place? And then obviously 3 years later, we're all 3 years older,
Yeah.
and a lot of my clientele are getting older, and we need to get back on the horse, or we're going into a phase of life where muscle is going to be lost very quickly.
Yeah.
And if that why isn't there, we definitely don't have anything to work towards.
What were some kind of typical whys that people started with prior to the pandemic versus now? Like, what are you noticing for people? One in terms in my head that just popped up was a lot of people, when I think of losing weight, they do it for like a reason, like in terms of like going on vacation. And because obviously vacation stopped, a lot of people are sort of backtracking and like, well, I can't go on vacation, therefore I have no reason to get in a bathing suit kind of thing.
Exactly. So they lost their why, and that's a lot of things. Like, people weren't buying new clothes because we don't know where to go, so they didn't feel great, and
Yeah.
things like that. Like, not that you have to buy new clothes, but that's another, like, a lot of things that I heard is like, why bother? Why bother?
Right.
Why bother? So all those why bothers were the unknown, right? So the unknown of the future. But for me, seeing people's whys go from, being like, I want to be fit, healthy, lose weight, to I don't know why I stopped. Like, they all say, I don't know. Not they all. Most people say, I don't know why I stopped. So there's, what do I say about that? I don't know why I stopped. Well, we kind of know why you stopped. It's just that there was nothing to work towards anymore. But ideally, I'd like people to find a stronger why.
Right.
Obviously, the why isn't strong enough to just give up like that.
It sounds like they're, especially in the fitness industry and looking a certain way, they know it's going to take a lot longer to get to that result in terms of without changing their nutrition. So if they're eating obviously poorly, and then they're like, well, now I feel like I'm far too gone. Like, why try? The whys also sound like they're very temporary. Like they're for a goal, kind of maybe within that year or so of getting to a certain place. It sounds like there are a lot of people aren't focused on the health of themselves because they know now they're a lot more unhealthier 3 years later, having maybe gained weight or not taking care of their health properly, gone to certain appointments and things like that. um, I think a lot of people struggle because their health is not their top priority. It's more aesthetic looking. And, you know, people sort of, even if they did like calls or anything like that, they kind of did like the whole pajamas on the bottom and, good looking on the top for the Zoom calls. And I think a
Totally.
lot of people just kind of gave into the sweatpants, I think, for a really long time and kind of grew into them, unfortunately, and then don't get back into their old clothes. So it's like now I feel like I'm a lot further behind and it's going to take me X amount of time to catch up. And I know how hard I worked. Say with Christa before, like working out, I know I'm going to have to try even harder. But like you said, it's getting that like baby step in, that one foot in the door to be like, I admit that what I was doing wasn't working. and then, starting with just the one day, building it up, right? Because I think people look at it as like an overall
Yeah.
long term, it's too much.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at people coming back, and once they do one session, they're back. So in order for the discipline to be there, to get to, like to email me or to get into the gym, it, motivation will be there, but is it the discipline to get there that is there? I think the
Right.
discipline is the biggest thing. There's always going to be, motivation that is up and down, but no matter what, we gotta do the work.
What are the conversations looking like when you are reaching out to somebody and you said that, you're getting the resistance of I don't know why. I don't feel like I have really the energy to get like in there. What is something that sort of changes their mind? Are you sort of looking at like trying to sort of point out like why they started in the first place, or helping them discover a new why? Like where does that
Yeah.
conversation go to
So
get
the
them in the gym?
conversation goes sort of like this. I always, stress the importance of, as we age, we are going to lose muscle mass and our quality of life will decrease.
Right.
And we're limping around more, or maybe have a few aches or pains. We just don't feel great. So looking at the body like it feels like an eggshell, you can break at any moment. Or we could get out there and feel like a solid brick and do anything. And a
Right.
lot of people go, yeah, I need to be stronger than that eggshell. So going out and hanging out with my grandkids, or, being able to still walk and ski and bike and hike. And some people that can't do that anymore. And I say that there's some people that are still resistant to the fact that nutrition and exercise are really the key thing.
Right. What do you think is replacing that, in terms of when you say like they don't sort of see that as the issue? Like what are they sort of seeing it as?
I feel like they're seeing it as, like you said, like this big burden, like I'm not gonna be able to catch up. And the thing is, we need to change our mind frame, right? So if you tell yourself you're not going to catch up, well, then you're not going to catch up. It's the
Right.
story that you're telling yourself. So they tell themselves a story, and then that story is stuck with it. There's always like the same excuses come up every time too. So that's just the story that they're feeding themselves. So if you say to yourself, I'm never going to catch up, I'm never going to get fit again, then that's the story you're going to live by. So the
Mhm.
mindset has to be changed first in order to go further.
That's very true. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy when people kind of get on that route. And it's almost like, it made me think of, when someone's like, hurt and they're like, go on without me, just leave me here to die, kind
Totally.
of like they're
Totally.
just kind of done, and they're like, I'm kind of a lost cause. And I
Yeah.
think that's maybe the tape that's sort of filling the day
Yes.
to day,
A lot
which is
of,
really unfortunate.
yeah, like a lot of self-sabotage, really. So it's
Right.
just pity me, poor me, poor me, poor me. A lot of people are focusing on the negative things that are happening in their body versus
Right.
what could be. And so I feel like they're dwelling too much. And I say they as in like, a lot of my conversations are, they're dwelling on, their injury that they had, or the amount of energy they don't have. They're just really dwelling on how much energy, that lacking of energy, or
Right.
just that sore foot. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
they fixate on that, and then they tell themselves that there's nothing they can do. So then
It's yeah.
that's the story that they're going with.
It's almost like a way of giving yourself permission or an excuse to not
Absolutely.
make that
Absolutely.
effort, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we go that mindset direction, because I think that's where I think a lot of what we deal with on a regular basis is people that are resistant to change. What do you advise clients to do to make a breakthrough with these habits, with their attitude and mindset? Like, what are you sort of helping them refocus on if they are kind of focused on that injury, or I can't, or this story that's in their head?
So we're looking at the long term. So I always tell themselves to visualize themselves in 3 months. So 3 months from now, if we put in some work, what's it going to feel like? What's it going to feel like if we don't put in the work for 3 months? we're going to
Mhm.
backtrack a little bit. We're going to continue to backtrack. So I give them small pieces of basically mindset work. We don't look a year ahead. That's just too long ahead. So like
Yeah.
2 or 3 months, and visualize yourself. And that's why I do all these fitness challenges, is it's 3 months to really change your mindset and get into a
Yeah.
different or a routine some sort. So giving yourself 3 months to make that change. And it's consistency. So consistency of communication with your trainer, consistency with your sessions, but consistency with your coach.
Mhm.
So trying to get them on board with that communication, trying to get them on board with short goals, attainable goals, and just baby steps from there. But looking at, where we could be in 3 months versus where we are now.
I think it is. It's a lot of it is baby steps, and I think that's a good way of putting it is getting someone to visualize themselves, because that can actually gear you towards becoming your best self. Like I feel like as well, like I use a lot of visualization, um, even just for different changes that I've made in my own life is how do I want to sort of see myself? And I usually go kind of that year ahead just for my own version. Because it's kind of that like goal I want to be. But I get when you're in such a dire state, you want to see 3 months from now because that's such a small
Yeah.
step and it's something that is attainable. And I love how you do the short like boot camp type of things because I think that really helps people. It's like a kick in the pants,
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
them just to like just join me for this, boot camp. Like within a few weeks, you're going to start to feel better. And then you're doing it as well with usually other people. So it's kind of that camaraderie, I guess we want to
Yeah.
call it together, right? Like where
Yeah.
everybody's kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you find the other thing I was going to notice too is that you usually surround yourself with the same type of people, and it can usually be spouses, friends, things like that. Have you noticed certain things coming up in terms of like it's maybe their crew or the people that they're around, and it's like another way of sort of sabotaging like them working on themselves? Like, do you see that?
Absolutely. And I do see this quite a bit, whether it's a husband and wife or
Yeah.
whether it's best friends. Uh, there is something that is noticeable for sure when you team up with someone who has the same mind frame as you, or you're giving each other permission it's okay to feel crappy, or it's okay to you know be tired all the time.
Yeah.
So I feel like if there is a way that I could be everyone's sidekick for a little bit, for the first little bit, meaning they have me to call on, or they have me holding them accountable. Finding more people like that is just going to help you with your goals. But yes, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And if you find yourself with your best friend and you're both bringing each other down, still going to be my best friend, but I'm going to you know try maybe a challenge, or try maybe a community. Like all my group training is very community
Hmm.
orientated, where you find this community that may be separate from your relationships, but you are surrounding yourself with more like-minded people, and just not having that I want to say that
Yeah.
pressure of like, what are you doing, and leaving me in the dust kind of thing. But trying to get your friend on board, maybe, or your spouse on board. And I see that a lot, where one spouse isn't on board and one is, and then eventually that other one follows, and it's just easier for both.
Yeah, especially when you can go and do something together. I think that's really helpful. And I see that definitely in the nutrition aspect too, is I've seen a few, unfortunately, where some I've had some women where they've tried to work on themselves and then their husbands are bringing home like pizza and things that they know that they'll gravitate towards. So then I get the excuses of like, well, they brought home this, so I had to eat it because like so it's just, and it sucks because you're trying to sort of like be that advocate, that cheerleader for them. And,
Yeah.
there's obviously times and moments where you're not going to be working out and you're going to be relaxing. There's going to be moments where you're having like a special occasion and you're eating like that Christmas food or that birthday cake. Like that's just part of life. But if it's like a habitual thing and you're around that, you need to sort of step back and see like, is this actually helping you, right? Because sometimes, unfortunately, it can be a bit of a sabotage way, and that's where I think your why needs to come in and be
Yeah.
that stronger why.
Yeah.
Um, Did you have anything sort of last things that you wanted to say to the audience about like the mindset challenges, and maybe somebody that's like on the fence of not sure about their nutrition, not sure about like their workouts and like, where to go from there?
Absolutely. I just feel like you need to know that one thing doesn't fit all. So something that someone else is doing, it again, it could be intimidating, but that may not be for you. This is a journey that is customized, and that is all about you. So your workouts may not be the same as your friend. Your workouts may be something more specific that you need. So there is something for everybody in terms of working out, and strength training doesn't have to be this high intensity, rah kind of thing. There really is something for everybody. For example, I had a few broken legs. I didn't have broken legs, but I have a few clients with broken legs over the last 3 months, and I've been working with them just still in a group session, but they're doing their thing, but still, able to participate in a way. So there are things for everybody. Same with nutrition. Not one thing's going to fit all. So you really need to go into this with the mindset of making it your own, taking out what you don't need from something and taking in what you need, and trying to find that strong why, and then bringing into account your sessions, your workouts that work for you, and your nutrition that's going to work for you as well.
Definitely. I love it. So where can all the clients find you?
I have a website, www.excelfitnesscanmore.com, Instagram, Excel Fitness Canmore, along with social media, Facebook, Excel Fitness, and my website has all the information about what I do. There's a great online studio where I can reach anyone from anywhere. And again, that could be customized around any injuries, basically trying to create it around trying to create you a plan around your lifestyle. So it's realistic, and we can make a plan that you can actually have success with.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Christa.
Thank you so much for having me.